Hi, let's add a sticker to a box. Let's say we take this box as an example. No, better yet, we're going to take this box because this one has a little added difficulty. Right, first of all, you need to make a material that you can use. I already made a few, but for now we're going to make a new one. First thing we do is we create a new material. We're going to give this one a name. We're going to make one for our flammable label. So I'm gonna call this one, calling it label like the rest. It's a warning, and I'm gonna call this flammable solids. Right, now we have a material. We need to add a texture to it so that it actually looks good. For that, I have made a couple of images with a transparent background. These images are square, which is very important to make this work. I'll take my flammable solid that I made, and what I then do is, it's a bit tricky here because these things are, because Unity is a bit of a bitch. Here, it moves both my windows. So I'll take my flammable solid and I put it in the albedo section. Then I'm gonna have to put the rendering mode on fade, take the smoothness all the way down, and then in the color, you want to change the value to about 70. That makes it a tad bit more realistic in game. Otherwise it has this weird white shine on it. It seems overexposed all the time, just doesn't look good, and it gets unreadable. So now we have a material which has the label inside. It looks all warped because it's on a sphere here, but it's gonna look good in the game. Now we take our box that we want to put something on. What we're going to do is we're going to have to add within the box. So here in the hierarchy, I'm clicking on the box. Inside we have a wood box and a collision. We're going to add something to it. We're going to add a 3D object. We're going to add a plane. Now this plane in the beginning is gigantic. So we're going to have to scale it on all axes a bit until it becomes small. Then we move it. We move it up, we move it sideways. Now we have to rotate it 90 degrees. Well, other axis, 90 degrees. Minus 90 then. There we go. I'm gonna have to rotate it until it looks the right way. Now what you'll notice is that this plane is not square. That's because the parent, the wooden box, has been scaled on with different sizes in different directions. This is okay because this can give you different sized boxes very easily, but it will give an added difficulty to this step. We have to make this sort of square. You don't have to be perfect about this. If it looks square, it's probably square enough. You won't notice it on the final image, but it is an extra step. Now we can use Shift Control. If we hold that down, when in the transform mode, the center will turn into a little square. If you grab that, it will snap onto a face. Now usually when you snap it on an object, you will get Z fighting. Now here it will snap to the boundary box of this chest, this box, which is a little recessed, so you won't get Z fighting below here. But what you do usually when you apply it on a face is you snap it on and then you just grab it and pull it a tiny bit so that it just goes one step out. It will float a bit, but it will be so little that you won't notice it. For me, I'm going to put it here. I'm actually going to push it back until it's barely visible. So it will now be more or less attached to it. Now what we can do is we can take our flammable solid material and just drag it on. Okay, what we notice is that it's also rotated, so we're going to have to twist it until it's proper. We can do that like so. But what we see now is that our scale is once again wrecked because it's not square anymore. That's the tricky part when you start scaling the parent. If you don't scale the parent, it will be very easy because it will always be square. And it doesn't matter which way you rotate it, it's always square, it's always good. So now we're gonna scale it down a bit because it's rather large, this label. And we're gonna move it on the box a bit to the side. There we go. And now we've got a flammable solid label on this box. Yes, it does get a bit hard to read when you get further away. This is just the rendering in Unity. But when people put their faces against it, they will be able to see it. And it just gives a little bit extra in the game. Let's see how it looks in the game. Alright, I'm now in game, and what we can see here is that we have our label right here. And when we put our camera like this, we can actually see it quite well. Flammable solid. It's a very nice label, and when we're just playing around, it just gives this little extra detail. I've already got a high voltage one here as well as a couple of caution labels for batteries and a shipping note on this barrel.